So if you have any questions for either for Susan or for myself or for Patrick, feel free to come up. We've got a mic here. I feel it's like we probably don't really need it, but we are recording some of this so that we can put it on YouTube, and those people who didn't have the opportunity to be here this weekend might take advantage of that. Or if you go home and you want to listen to it again, you can tune it in. One of the things somebody said to me was when we knew that Mojave might not make it is that it doesn't really matter in a way because all of you are local seed growers or enthusiasts or activists. So one of the things I'd like to ask you is if you feel like you would like to come up and just tell us a story, please do so. Is this a live mic here, Michael, if they came up there? Wherever you want to go? Is there anybody brave enough to come up and say, this is what we're doing in our community and we'd like to share it with everyone else? Or do I need to point out someone here? One of the things I want to do before perhaps we go on, we'll give you an opportunity to get brave and think that you might want to come up and share with us, is I'd like to actually have people stand who have been involved with me in helping to make this happen. Because it'll be impressive, I think, if we can see how many people have actually volunteered to make this happen today. And I want to, first of all, I want to look at the FarmFolk CityFolk staff who are here with me. There's myself, Heather Pritchard, and I'm the farm manager for FarmFolk CityFolk. There's Michael Marapiece. Let's not clap for everybody. Let's just, the staff can stand up and I'll identify you, and if you can just stay standing, then we'll see. So there we have Nicholas Scapolati, our executive director, and we have Tallulah, who is managing our registration and our volunteers, and you'll be listening to her tomorrow night because she's going to be performing. So that's our staff. There isn't any other staff here, I don't. Oh, and there's Sarah. Sarah Dent, she doesn't know where. She's a partner, and she's also part of our project, Young Agrarians. And many of you are here because Young Agrarians has supported and sponsored you to be here tonight. Okay, let's keep standing because I want to get this volume thing happening here. Then we've got the BC Seed Committee. That's a committee of FarmFolk CityFolk that's been meeting for 8 years. Those of you who are on that committee, please stand up. Susan Davidson, Sue Moore, Mel, Patrick, Arzina. Okay. Then we've got a few people who are crossover. They're doing more than one thing. And we've got the trainers who've been trained by USC Canada who are going out and putting on workshops. So there's Craig Evans somewhere here too as well. There you go. There's Craig. Craig and Patrick and Mojave. Where are you, Mojave? Mojave's when Mojave does come in, you'll all know who she is. She's been very key to everything that we have done. Then there are the volunteers who put this on. So all of you who have volunteered and who are volunteering, let's stand up. And I won't name every one of you because I know that we have 13 students from Kwantlen College. Kwantlen is supporting and subsidizing them to be here. We have 7 students from UBC who throughout the weekend are going to be volunteering. And then we've got a really special volunteer, and her name's Steph, and where is she? She's out there. Oh, she's at the very back. Steph is one of these people who volunteers for everything that FarmFolk CityFolk does. I think she's a postie in her real life, right? Yeah, and she also volunteers on our farm, so we feel she's very, very special. She knows us well. And then we've got the people who have been volunteering for the foods. Slow Food has been coordinating the food. Joanne, is Joanne here? And she's going to come tomorrow. There's Julianne right at the back who's been just doing a fabulous job, and you'll want to clap for Slow Food tomorrow night or even tonight because of the fabulous food that they've managed to be able to get all of you to donate to. And so one of the reasons that we have actually been able to support and sponsor more than half of you with subsidies, because we have a registration of about 130 and we have about 80 people on some kind of subsidy, is because of all the hard work that all of you have done. So give yourself a hand. Yeah. So who's me? Yeah. So who has a story they'd like to tell and share with us? Something from your seed community.
I don't have a story.
Oh, Arzina's going to get up. Good.
You know what? I see Harold Steves here in the audience, and I would really love, because I know, Harold, we're going to be talking about GMOs in Richmond, but I don't know if we'll have time to talk about your family history around seeds. So would you mind sharing that?
Now that's really putting me on the spot. She's my friend. It's funny. We had a seminar last night in Langley over GMOs, and we're going to repeat it tomorrow. But got thinking about it. I'm a fourth generation seed saver in this province. My great grandfather had the first seed catalog in British Columbia in 1888. And they were the first ones to market seeds locally grown. And they were seed breeders, and I'm still doing it. It's 4 generations later. And to hear the comments on developing your own varieties. Actually, we're on our farm right now, we're doing the exact opposite. We're trying to take varieties that have got changed over the years and get them back to what they were originally when the farmers originally started here and started growing local varieties, because quite often you'll get some pollen that comes into your tomato patch or whatever, and it alters it slightly. So we've been working very hard to try and recreate some of those early varieties. And tomorrow I'll show you, we've got copies of our 1888 seed catalog I brought along. And we're growing about a third of the varieties that are in that catalog. And we have some seed varieties, probably half a dozen, where we're the only seed in the entire planet for these particular varieties. Sad to say, under my own control, I've lost a couple of varieties over the years, and you sort of shed a few tears about that because you didn't know that everybody's going to stop producing them. But we got started actually into seed saving around 1982. And hearing about Sharon Rempel, we specialize in mangles. And when we had the first Seedy Saturday in Vancouver, I guess 89, it must have been, if that's what somebody said, either Sharon Rempel or Heather Apple, I came in with buckets of mangle seed, and nobody knew what a mangle was. So for years, they called me Mr. Mangle. So for those that don't know what a mangle seed is, we specialize in mangles. We grow about 6 varieties of mangles, and mangles are huge sugar beets, and they were used for hundreds and hundreds of years for feeding livestock. And we keep the varieties alive. We've actually provided some mangles for those that want to try them in the interior BC to seeds in different places like that where they want to grow mangles for feeding the livestock. Well, they come to us for seed. But basically, we're seed preservationists, and so we grow out the varieties and catalog them and maintain them and provide seed for those that want them. Tomorrow, I was going to talk to you about actually some tomatoes that we grow, and so I'll mention it today. In our 1888 catalog, there was a variety of tomato called Alpha, and we have maintained that variety for 100 years, and it's quite amazing because nobody wanted varieties like Alpha, and we're the only one that's got the seed. But we've been doing, in fact, my son planted Alpha tomatoes this summer in his front lawn, destroyed his lawn, and planted 3 other hybrid varieties, modern varieties adjacent to it. The Alpha plants, when you put the seeds in the ground, and we raise them in pots indoors to start with, germinate 4 or 5 days ahead of all the other varieties. They bloom a couple of weeks ahead of the other varieties. And when the other varieties were just blooming, they were already had tomatoes on. And when the others were just starting to form tomatoes, the alphas were already ripe. It's a variety that's 1888 from our catalog, over 100 years old. People don't grow those varieties anymore, but alpha simply means first, and it still is. The significance, I would tell you tomorrow, but I'll tell you today, is that Monsanto and the big seed companies came along and gobbled up all the little seed companies over the last 20 or 30 years. And that's one reason we got into trying to save the what we call the heirloom seeds. But we saw sanctuary seeds and Buckerfields that had maintained our original 1888 seed catalog disappear. They were gobbled up by bigger fish, and another bigger fish gobbled up that fish until all you got is Monsanto. They destroy the seed varieties, and you're stuck with varieties that don't produce tomatoes a month earlier than all the other varieties, and so you got to get your early tomatoes from Mexico because the seed diversity is gone. And so what we generally do, I spoke in North Vancouver, and I've got some seed here today, but only about a dozen packets of the alpha. I just give it away if people will grow it and maintain some of those seed varieties and try it out. So that's what we do. It's great fun, and we are so delighted to see what's happening here today because a lot of those seed varieties we got, we'd like some of you to try and maintain them for us because it's a bit of a chore. I guess we've got about 60 or 70 different varieties, many of which we've got the only ones. And we certainly like to look around this room and say, hey, we got a lot of help, so thanks very much.
Good. We've got to, if you could identify who you are and where you're from.
John from Comox Valley. I take it those mangoes aren't the kind you'd put in a smoothie?
Actually, I should explain, mangoes are livestock, and they're like a sugar beet. And one time, every farmer, if you wanted to get high milk production, we would feed your cattle mangoes. My great-grandfather was the world mango king in 1913.
Do you actually think you could grow mangoes for people?
Well, actually, they're M-A-N-G-L-E.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we do have a variety that we have maintained ourselves. And again, we've got the only seed for it. That is an excellent beet. It's about that big. It's sweet. And when we have dinner, we'll have red beets on one side and the yellow mango beets on the other. And it's a much sweeter beet, but they're a variety of beet. And the greens are fantastic as well. So the one variety, and it's huge, and it's great for people, for humans to eat. But most of the mango varieties are for livestock.
I wanted to speak on the other end of the spectrum. I'm a beginner at seed saving. I'm one of the directors in our local group. We have quite an active group in Comox Valley. We have a very popular Seedy Saturday. When our Xena found out, we actually charge people to get in. It's our big fundraiser. It's $5 to get in, and people will stand at the line to get in. And there's at least 40 vendors there, and it's our big fundraiser of the year. I wanted to keep the infrastructure of our organization alive. Not that I'm any expert gardener. I just live in Comox. I have a backyard. I grow kale and tomatoes and a few trees, mostly easy things. But I got involved first as treasurer. I wanted to learn about just keeping the organization financially alive. Now I'm membership director. But I find that that's important to keep some kind of infrastructure so that we can keep our members informed. I put out an e-news every month. We actually have monthly meetings, and 30 people, 40 people show up, which is a good number of people, open to the public. It's free to the members, and the public maybe donates $5. But you'd be surprised at the contacts that are made at these monthly meetings. We have good speakers. Our last one was on mutant beans. And this lady, literally, she prided herself. She worked at UBC. She's a professor emeritus. She prided herself on these mutant beans. She had at least 14 varieties. And she claimed she could live off of her land if she wanted to. And her beans were, as she claimed, for protein. So the students here, I noticed there's quite a few students, like to say, hey, get involved any way you can, be it administrative. I'm learning to save seeds myself, learning to be a gardener, and I'm really enjoying the whole process, particularly the people that I meet through this. There's some really dedicated people that are really into the seed saving, and we all believe it very strongly that it's an important thing for like humanity. Thanks.
I've got a story I want to share just around seed saving stuff, and it has to do with saving seeds of broccoli seeds. And at our farm, this is quite a few years back now, but it had come after some of the workshops that I had taken part in, learning from John Navazio a bit about selection. And I'd really been working with green Goliath broccoli, which is an open pollinated variety of broccoli. And as many of you know who grow broccolis, there's not many open pollinated varieties that are all that good to work with, and most farmers are growing hybrid varieties, and I really wanted to be offering an OP variety and having a good one. And I'd started with a seed that was pretty good. A green Goliath was a good one. And my whole goal as a seed grower was just to maintain it in good shape. Like, I just wanted to really keep this great, keep the tight crowns and the tight buds, and make the seed true to type, and all those things that we were learning sort of how to do. And so I was just going around my yearly growing out and harvesting this, and I'd done it for 3 or 4 years. And I'd passed, the seed had been bought by a farmer in the Saanich Peninsula there by Victoria, Vancouver Island. And she called me up one fall and said, yeah, I've been growing your green Goliath broccoli, and I've also been growing the same variety, green Goliath, that I just bought from another, a big seed company. And that would have then, they would have been buying that green Goliath seed from maybe the original producer of that seed, whoever that is. And she told me, the interesting thing is your variety was maturing 2 weeks earlier than the other, which was, they're the same variety, but your line of it was maturing 2 weeks earlier. And it was great for me because as a market gardener, I was growing this over and over, and I got, another 2 crops in the year because of this shorter maturation time. And it really surprised me because I wasn't doing anything to do that, to intentionally select for this faster growing, faster maturing broccoli. But then I started thinking about it, and I realized that because I grow things at a fairly northern latitude, and I thought to how I save the seed, and every year when we harvest our broccoli seed, only maybe 70% of them or 80% of them have actually made mature seed, and there's a certain percentage that they just didn't have enough season length to actually mature their seed. And so by saving the seed from those early maturing ones, without intending to, I ended up with a line that matured 2 weeks earlier than the same variety, just grown wherever it is typically grown commercially. And that's the power of local seed saving sometimes, is that you can achieve this by putting it under under whatever kind of pressure. This pressure was a short season length. And so I was so proud, I started actually getting a bit of an ego about this, about this seed that I'd saved, and thinking, well, I'm such a great seed saver, I got this early maturing broccoli. And I say, so I was just saving it for a few more years, and I don't know what happened, but something happened over the next couple years. I don't know if it got crossed, if I didn't grow enough of them, I don't know what happened, but the seed basically went to the dogs. And I grew it out, and it just wasn't making good heads anymore, and something was happening. And I still haven't figured out what happened. But the reason I wanted to share the story was there was the highs of what can happen with local seed saving, but it also pointed out to me the real need for resource personnel that can tell us what went wrong. Because I asked a few other people, and nobody really could shed any light on it. There is a wall that we can sometimes hit where we need further expertise outside our own community. And that's where working both regionally and nationally can really help us out. I actually went to, we had a farmers meeting in the Okanagan, and we were at the Summerland Research Center and talking to Ag Canada people, and I asked, they mostly work with fruit trees there, as you would imagine, but I asked, who can I talk to about vegetable seed issues? And the closest Ag Canada person they could put me in touch with was somebody in Quebec that dealt with vegetable seed breeding. And I thought, this is such a tragedy. We need to really improve what we're doing locally and regionally and get resource people. We've got resource people on such a great level, but sometimes you also need certain other things. And this was a good example of it, where the highs and the lows of local seed production, and where you can really meet your limits sometimes, meet that glass ceiling. So that's the story I wanted to share about it. I meant it to be a good story, actually, so didn't want it to end.
Is there someone else who's brave here? Good. We're about 5:30 now, and supper is going to be at 6. I think if somebody could just check with me to see how far along they are, we can just keep this going until supper's ready, and then we'll all go in next door and fill up.
Hi, I'm Trevor from Fort Macleod, Alberta. I flew out of a blizzard to get here today. And I'm actually also, my real job is I farm 10 acres of organic onions and potatoes, which I wholesale into Calgary. But my real job, where I make my money, is I'm a high school teacher in Alberta. And I just want to point out maybe an idea for the people here in BC. The Alberta curriculum, science curriculum in grade 9, has an organic agriculture outcome. So I go into my school and I'm their guest speaker, and they're really disappointed when it's just, the other teacher is the guest speaker. But I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I teach these kids about organic farming. And in grade 10, I'm a social studies teacher, and the whole theme in Social 10 in Alberta is globalization. And the last quarter of that course is, how do I as a citizen respond to the forces of globalization? And so saving seed, there's actually a lot of examples that we use in our curriculum, that saving seed is a way we can respond to globalization. So maybe it's an idea for you people in BC to get into the school system and expose the kids to these good ideas. Thank you.
It's a little bit self-interested, but I think because I have all these great minds here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Saanich Organics. So we're a group of farmers that have gotten together and have started saving seed, and we've had Melanie working with us and Carano consulting with us, and now Lisa's carrying the torch, doing a lot of just seed saving and seed breeding of vegetables. And we've got all this great stock, and we've been selling some to Dan and to Patrick, and we have a lot of seed stock, and we're just looking for other places to sell it. It's certified organic in BC, and we're slowly getting more and more varieties. We have 3 different farms, so we're each growing our seed on different plots so that we have lots of isolation distances. We've been going to workshops with John DeMazio, and we're really just excited about what we're doing, and we just need more markets, more places to sell it, and we want to cooperate with more people across the province. So we're just trying to think through that, and I hope that everybody here will talk about it, how we can help each other sell more seed, where our venues are.
Yeah. I'm just going to interject here, because tomorrow we are going to have developing a BC seed producer cooperative. And so that's kind of one of the things that we want to be doing with small growers that have surplus seed, is if you wanted to belong to our cooperative, Saanich Organics, then we might have a co-op line of seed to sell.
I'm a farmer and I spend a lot of time alone, so talking in front of people is like my heart's beating. No, just what comment from you, the last two comments essentially were farmers have to go get real jobs too, and I'm in that category as well. And I would really love to see some type of way where us farmers who really love it and enjoy it can make a living on these smaller scales. We have to be really creative, and I'm here to learn those creative ways because I'm fortunate. I was able to inherit rich, wonderful land and water and all the resources that people want, but still learning to just make a living that as my sole living, because you put so much time into trying to grow quality food and quality farm, but yet you got to spend more time away making money. It sometimes seems impossible, and then you got family that you're trying to raise as well. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in that boat, so I'm here to open ideas or just learn more how we can really make a living farming on a smaller scale, and hear some of those creative ideas, because I've got land, water, and I'm ready to farm, and I've got a strong back. But I'm learning ways to be creative with that, and to, of course, support local. I feel that's where it is, but if you don't reach out, like I live in Merritt, which is a smaller town, so it's hard to make a living in a really small town. So I was really excited to hear from Mojave, who is in a similar environment that I am. So kiss your farmer.
So my name is Jody Peters. It's really lovely to be here. I know many different people. I work for the Environmental Youth Alliance, and I just thought I'd share a little bit about what we do with seeds and young people. We have a program called Urban Seeds, and it way predates my time at the UIA. So I think it started in possibly 2001. For sure by 2004 it was really going. And what we do is, right in the middle of kind of industrial area in Strathcona, we have a set of plots in the Cottonwood Community Garden, and most of what those plots do is grow vegetable crops for seed. And what supports all the work that goes into growing those vegetables are youth, mostly volunteers, and sometimes we have internships that we offer for youth to help us do that. Claire is our volunteer coordinator, and she's actually the hands on the ground that works with these youth. And what we've found, I just want to share this a little bit, is the therapeutic value of seed saving is amazing. The sort of beautiful work of the hands and kind of the methodical work of cleaning seeds and staring at these beautiful seedlings that you actually help to grow, because a lot of the youth we work with are part of a lot of the growing season, as well as the harvesting of the seeds and the cleaning of the seeds and the packaging of the seeds. And the conversations that we have around the table as we're all cleaning seeds. And we don't have any high-tech seed cleaning equipment because we don't need it. We have hands and we have lots of youth. And what I like to say a lot about our work at the UI is we really don't focus ever on efficiency. Efficiency is not one of our goals, because we work mostly in education, and in education you have to make mistakes, you have to try out new ways of doing things. And so when we're sitting around with a bunch of youth all trying to save some variety of wheat that we've grown for the first time, it's amazing. You get 5 different people doing different things with their seeds and trying to race each other to see who can clean it faster, and then the different inspiring and also resourceful, the resourceful sense that those youth get in terms of being able to try something new as well as be doing something really useful is really inspiring. And so that's a program, it's called Urban Seeds, I think I mentioned that, and we actually sell our seed packages in different stores around the city of Vancouver. And we don't, it's not actually an income generating project at this point, it's more of an outreach project, but it's always welcome to supporters, and our volunteer program is open to anybody. So if you are in the Vancouver area, you want to even lend us some of your expertise, that's always welcome. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. I'm hoping to learn some more efficient seed cleaning techniques at this conference, but it's been a wonderful gift to work with youth and not worry about efficiency and just really enjoy the joy of seeds with them.
Anybody else wants to get up and tell their story? Jen from Port Alberni. Yay. One of the exciting things is that we have people from all over the province.
I'm a bit worried that I'm going to disappear behind this podium.
You have to just stay back from it. I'm always used to going right up into the mic like that and practically kissing it, and of course it pops, so the further back is better.
Well, the first thing I want to do is mwah to all of you, because I've been waiting for this to happen for a long, long time. We started an organization in Port Alberni in 2007 called Women's Food and Water Initiative, and my heart's pounding too. And we started saving seed because of two friends of mine, Nicole and Nathan. And Nicole and Nathan were protesting at Cathedral Grove because they didn't want the trees to be cut so that a parking lot would be put in there. And in the end, they were successful, they and the others. But I became very fond of these two people, and we would take them firewood and help support their protest. And so one day I was sitting down and talking to Nicole, and I said to her, what do you think, if you were advising youth such as yourself, I think she was 25 at the time, about climate change, what would you tell them is the best thing that they should be doing? And she just automatically said, saving seed. And I was so impressed with that I thought about it for a while, and I realized she's right. She was right. It was really, and that's why you connecting democracy to saving seed is so right on. But I've come to, after meditating on it and saving seed, and we did start the first Seedy Saturday in Port Alberni, so that was a really good event, and we try to do that every year. It's very popular, and I'm really excited about the potential for revenue that was outlined. In fact, I want that slide because that's very... But I came to see that these seeds need to be planted out. They need to experience the weather. They need to experience, that's why we call our seed a climatized seed. And I've come to realize that the DNA in these seeds is so intelligent. It's just brilliant. And so what we're doing here today, what we're working on, and that it's becoming a national movement, is so important. So thank you all for being here, and that's my story.
Michaela from the Organic Seed Alliance.
Well, two short stories. I can't resist following that up with letting you all know that if I want to in my state, I can smoke a joint and go crash a gay wedding legally. So of course, our staff was talking this morning about, well, does this mean we could actually get a grant to do participatory farmer pot breeding? Maybe that's how we could make money and actually pay the farmers again. Who knows if that'll happen or not. But the story I wanted to share briefly was about a group of graduate students in the United States that were very inspiring to me this year. There's a group of 3 women who got together and self-coordinated a symposium retreat for graduate students at the university level around seeds and plant breeding. And this is a group of people who are seeking validation in the scientific community and publishing in scientific journals on organic plant breeding. And I feel like it's so inspiring to me, having been 15 years out of graduate school myself, to realize that we have a new climate and potential in creating not only an industry, but a body of scientific knowledge about how we do this. And at the same time, my gut says, oh God, they need jobs when they graduate. And so I feel an echo of the same sort of urgency that it's important we all do this work out of our hearts and out of our knowing that it's good work we're doing, but we also need to develop an industry around it and a reward system for those that are investing in not only stewarding the genetics, but growing the seed as well, of course. So I asked one of these coordinators what inspired them to self-coordinate this meeting. It was about 35 graduate students at a retreat, and brought in anybody in the country who'd been working in organic seed and breeding. And one of them told me, she's at University of Wisconsin, and she said, one day a stretch limo Hummer came to the University of Wisconsin to pick up the Monsanto graduate fellow students to drive them all the way to St. Louis, Missouri for a conference. And they had an open bar the entire way. And they all came back saying, "Yeehaw, this was great," you know? And so they said, okay, we can do the same thing, but we're going to get a VW bus and go to Vermont instead. So they did it, and they decided at the end of the event that they would continue the tradition. 3 new graduate students have chosen or have volunteered to coordinate the next one, and it's going to be held in Mount Vernon next summer in August. So if there are any graduate students here who would be interested in participating in such an event, you can contact me and I will put you in touch with the coordinators. I said, oh goody, you're going to be in our backyard. We can participate in all kinds of ways. And she kind of sheepishly looked at me. She said, you can apply. But she meant she was, it'll be a good event. Thanks. And by the way, John Navazio, I told him I was going to see you, and he said, oh God, Susie's my favorite new person. So she says hello.
We're getting close to supper. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak before we convene? Oh, we've got somebody else. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Tanis, and I just kind of wanted to come up and introduce myself as coming to this conference in a little bit of a different frame of mind in terms of which kind of seeds I'm interested in. And I know a lot of people come into this from a farming aspect, but I'm really interested in the native Canadian plant aspect of seed saving. But I do think that there's a lot of lessons to be learned from both communities for each other, and a lot of ways to collaborate. And so I really want to just say hi to everyone and say if you have some ideas or you want to talk about how to collaborate, there's a lot of information that I've gained from going to the Millennium Seed Bank in England and learning seed cleaning techniques and things from them, and how to long-term storage of seeds. But I know that the seed-saving community in the agricultural background has a very much longer history and a lot of lessons that have been learned, and I'm really interested in learning those lessons as well, and particularly how to form these co-ops and things like that. So I think there's a lot of collaboration possible in terms of growing with each other. There's food from natural plants as well, but also in terms of being able to incorporate native plants in your farming land as well to support things like wild pollinators throughout the season and things like that. So there's all sorts of ways that we can come together and collaborate, and I'd love to talk to everyone here about this sorts of things. So thank you.